We just want Governor Murphy to grow some weed. That's all we want. It's not that hard, right? We just want him to allow us to grow a little weed. To us today would probably want to grow just like 1 or 2 plants at home. I mean, maybe somebody wants to grow out there like an entire room in their house, but I just want to grow like a few plants. I've been doing this for the last couple of years. Do you think that New Jersey is transparent, easy? Like, as a voter, do you feel like you're getting your money's worth? Like,
yeah, so no. It's extremely difficult to navigate the New Jersey legislative system. To contact your representatives and to actually get meetings scheduled and to get your voices heard. Last year we've been focusing on the medical bill, 1393 we've been focusing on the Senate side, and we've gone up to 11 co-sponsors now.
We have made progress. Like, it's really great that we have like this many co-sponsors.
Growing on a small scale or specifically for personal customized medication is very different than trying to grow for mass market. And I think there's a place for both, and I think there's a need for both, but I think anything that is on shelves and tested should be tested to realistic, trustworthy, clear standards, and I think the consumers deserve to know everything that's in there.
They do.
in order to make sure that we have safe cannabis, we have to verify it. And Andrea has got some samples. She got some samples of some pre-rolls, which found that we have some big work to do on safety. So,
outside of my work from Homegrown, one of the other projects I've been working on is the Safety Society, because we're finding safety standards are lacking. As a patient, I have yeast and mold allergies. I also have asthma, so sometimes I notice there are certain products that are causing reactions for me that make me think they might not meet state standards. And I was able to partner with Michael Boone, who's a professor in cannabis with a wide experience in the industry. And we were able to do secret shopper testing, where we purchased pre-rolls off the shelf from 17 different cultivators, 25 different pre-rolls. And we were able to see that when retested to New Jersey standards at accredited facilities, 28% of them failed for microbials, sometimes multiple times the state limit. And out of the ones we tested for potency, every single one of them was beyond the state variance, meaning every single one of them was more than 10% off of what they said on the label, sometimes over 40%. So as a patient,
that's a lot.
That's significant. That means you don't know what you're actually getting in your packages. Imagine you went to the pharmacy and got the wrong medicine, or you went to a restaurant and got moldy food served to you. There's something going on here, and we need to make sure that safety in the market is scaling at the same rate as our growing recreational market, and we need to make sure medical standards are still a priority.
Yeah, like who, for example, have you found to have like bad products?
On names, it's the CRC. The CRC has failed to protect consumers in the adult use and medical markets. It's a systemic issue that needs to be resolved at the CRC. It's not finger pointing on, oh, they have one batch that failed, one batch that failed, where they're recalls. I hope I see recalls. Recalls show that their process is working. Right now, we've had 1 recall in the last 4 years. That's just absurd in any industry. That's just more indicative of that they're just not catching it, right? We should be seeing recalls on a routine basis because that's how all industries work.
To be clear, New Jersey doesn't have the most stringent standards. Though we've had a medical program for many years, we don't have our own testing guidance. The only thing we do have is a 100-pound batch size, which is the largest in the country. And it looked like the CRC was going to change this. They started to implement new testing regulations after the Safe Leak reports came out in these last few months. But at their last meeting, they decided to rescind those regulations, leaving us just as in the dark and with batch sizes, my body weight, where they're testing less than my watch. They're not representative samples, and when we tested individual pre-rolls, we want to make sure we're providing representative samples. So we were hoping to see that batch size come down so we could test to new standards. We want to test at multiple labs, which we will be doing with our next round of data that's coming soon.
Oh, we love data. We like names too. We respect the need for no names that way.
Well, we will be releasing the names, and we have now partnered with a data analyst to have years of metric data, and it will include all of 2024's data now that the CRC is going to be acting on FOIA requests. And we will be able to track not just individual tests that we're testing, but the entire cultivator's history of testing in this state. And we can see how that stacks up not just within our state, but against national standards.
Medical marijuana program recalled all of the vape cartridges, all of them. They pulled them out of the dispensaries, put them in a warehouse, said that you can't access them whatsoever. The empire of the industry struck back. They went to court, got an injunction, got those products back, agreed to labeling them as potentially remediated from moldy products, and resold them to consumers. Now mold knows not to grow beyond the standard. Somehow, the mold knows.
A lot can be told by the story of the data. And the New Jersey data from the beginning of the program up until mid-2024 was released, and it is publicly accessible. I think we'll be seeing some data analysis coming out of that soon. You'll be able to see very significant trends in, okay, certain cultivators, certain labs will never report under a certain percentage, or they magically don't report between 17 and 19%. Everything's either under 16% or over 20%. And I mean, that's just very indicative of data manipulation and a lack of regulation at the CRC level. As an operating lab within the market, as we have the first laboratory license, we're not properly audited, and I'm asking to be properly audited to standards.
You want to be audited? That's
I want to
unique.
be audited because I believe
want to be audited. Yeah, we are a small business. Yeah, you need to respect that. Yeah.
Well,
I want everyone to be held to the same standard, and I know there's no standards. There's no one at the CRC with a basic bachelor's in chemistry or microbiology that can go into my lab and properly audit it.
Right. It's a lot of science, like science, microbiology, science. Yeah.
But also, this is a national problem. Like I explained, this is not individual cultivators that we're looking at. That's why we're not trying to just name names and make everyone scared of the market. We're trying to track down how these issues can be happening and how to prevent them from continuing. We're hearing these reports from all over the country where people are trying to do their own secret shopping, or they're reaching out to Safely and asking for help, they're sharing their data. When we look at the metric data for New Jersey, we're comparing it across data points from, I believe, 27 states at this point, where we're comparing sometimes the same cultivators in different states, testing at the same labs in different states, and seeing dramatically different fail rates or dramatically different rates of, like Chris said, where exactly how often they tested it, exactly 20%.
Yeah.
How often the mold stays right below that legal limit. You know, there are certain patterns that are red flags. This data. As a consumer, the only way to see your testing data is to go to a dispensary and request for it to be printed out on each individual product. That's your legal right. You can do that, but let's be honest, that's not really a way to do data analysis on millions of products.
Right. That's the thing is, even if I get data, I might not understand it the way Chris understands. The way you might understand it as a very seasoned consumer advocate now.
Well, yeah, and even as we're showing, you can get the data and it may not be accurate, and a lot of times it's not accurate. I mean, I know firsthand from I had clients with a 30-40% failure rate that switched to 0% overnight by switching to another lab, right? So there's lab shopping that is very apparent, not just firsthand knowledge, but in the data itself that is publicly released. And what we really need is some form of regulation and oversight over the testing in the state and the labeling accuracy and over consumer protection, so that consumers are receiving products that are accurately labeled and they're safe to consume.
Yeah, we think that the CRC, the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, in New Jersey and other states are becoming somewhat overwhelmed by hemp regulations, by expanding industry, by a lot of things. But the states have maybe inappropriately firewalled consumer safety away from agencies that may have more experience doing it. In New Jersey, we have a Department of Consumer Affairs. It looks after labeling fraud on food, like at the food court here, or pharma in the Walgreens behind me. Why should they be kept away from a part of cannabis consumer safety? So I think that we've been thinking about going and and trying to find a pathway for the Department of Consumer Affairs to help with consumer safety oversight. There were ideas for a check lab that may be expensive and long in the tooth to actually achieve it. But the Consumer Affairs Division already does labeling fraud issues. They already keep everything honest in consumer goods. They shouldn't be kept away from keeping cannabis consumers safe.
Right. So, like,
Biggest thing in New Jersey is we were the first state to legalize adult use cannabis without at least medical home cultivation. It didn't give the safety net to medical patients that they need, and explaining to the legislative representatives of why that's important, why patients need strain-specific medication, and how certain cultivars are just never grown in a commercial environment because it takes too long or yields too little for it to be commercially viable. I mean, they understand that. They understand business.
they do understand business. They understand money around here. They might not understand justice.
One of the biggest pushbacks we
doubt.
got initially was like, well, the industry's not ready for it. They don't want it yet. Well, I'm part of the industry. There's many other businesses here, cultivators, manufacturers, retailers that are for home grow. So that's another reason why we started the Home Grow Coalition, because we wrote a letter with over 50 license holders, and that's a lot. That's over a quarter, I think, of the total licensees in New Jersey right now for adult use. We're all supportive of medical home grow, and then additional legislation that would introduce personal use home cultivation as well. So making sure that everyone understands that is the next step. Because we can't get to Scutari. He's refused meetings with us, but we can get to everyone else that's in the same room with him every week or multiple days a week. So making sure that they're advocates for us, because they're our representatives and that's their job.
Definitely depends on who you end up talking to, and that's why it's important to just keep trying to reach out, because you will have a senator, but you will have 2 assembly people for your district too. So you have 3 different politicians, and they might have wildly different views or responses. Some offices are quick to call you back, quick to answer your email and schedule a meeting, and that's why I say a lot of times I think it's an education issue rather than an empathy issue, because sometimes the politicians just don't know about the realities for patients or the realities in the industry, or they have believed the propaganda and they think this is a threat to the industry, or they think that we're not allowed to have lab testing and safe practices, growing practices at home, or they think that the market is perfectly safe, even though we didn't really give our regulators the resources to ensure that right now. And some offices are quite difficult to get in touch with, notoriously. I know we've discussed Senate President Scutari quite a bit tonight. He is the one office who has absolutely never given me the decency of a proper call, proper meeting, or anything like that.
Others are better.
But other people in the Assembly and Senate have been wonderful. Senator Gopal and Senator Singleton are both big advocates for home grow. And on the Assembly side, Assemblyman Atkins has taken a real interest in patient rights.
He is from Union.
Primary